All right, let's try this
And we're
again.
live. We'll give it a minute. Get you guys caught up.
Yeah.
Um, I think what else I need to do. I think we're good, right? Do I need to?
Um. Yes, we are live on YouTube. I see it now. I see it
Yay!
now.
I think. Yay!
Yay, Danielle, you made it back. All right, Danielle is here. Yay.
Oh, good.
I will link it in Discord for everyone who's like, what just happened?
Yeah. Okay. You'll do that. I won't have to worry about
Yeah.
it. Okay. Okay. Let me turn my microphone back
Okay, it's
on. Okay.
linked.
Good deal. Thanks, guys. I'm sorry. This went kind of sideways.
I'm sorry. I apologize, but this has been me the last few days. I've been in basket case. So
Okay.
sorry. Welcome to my real life.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh,
Good.
goodness.
Good.
See, everyone's back. Rosie's back. Thank you, Rosie, for modding this. Hi, Cement Shoes, Paisley, Falcon, Cherie, all the good. Oh, Amanda. Amanda, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good guys.
All right. So you had mentioned before we started over the carry on case,
Yep.
carry on the
Third
young boy.
walk of Phoenix. Yep.
That case that broke my heart because there's an interview that I saw today with a neighbor boy who said, we saw him outside one day. He was almost never outside and he was just sitting with the kids and he wanted some water. And I said, well, give him some water. And the other kid said, we can't because then he'll pee his pants. And he was like, well, F that noise. And he said, I got him a bottle of water. And it was like, how, how does that happen?
I knew about that interview. I'd seen the the text of that interview before, and
Mm,
I believe he is one of the people who called CPS.
good.
I mean, there are multiple people who called CPS. It's absolutely ridiculous that that little boy was still in that house 6 days before he died when CPS came. I do not, for the life of me, understand how they left him and his two siblings in that house.
Right. Because he
What
was
a,
what? He was super skinny. And I mean, just at that age and that height, he should not have only weighed, what was it, under 100 pounds, something like that?
75 pounds.
Yeah.
We went to the hospital, and then by the time they did autopsies and that kind of thing, even that came down to like 65,
Oh my
61.
goodness. How could a CPS see that and not think there's clearly something deathly wrong with this child? You know? Mm.
According to the newspaper where I read the article from, the younger siblings of Carrie also, okay, the adopted mom and dad are his aunt and uncle. It's
Oh, okay.
his mother's maternal is his sister. Her sister is the aunt, and then her husband. That's who adopted him.
Hmm.
But they were still getting money from the state because he's special needs. They were getting $3,000 a month from the state of Washington
Hmm.
for taking care of Carrie. That's not even counting his two siblings. That's how much they were getting just for him. And it said in the news article, it said that they were seen on camera at I forget Ilia Casino. They had spent tens of thousands of dollars at the casino and countless hours. That's what they were doing. To the point where when he died, they took him to the emergency room. They declared him dead 15 minutes later. 2 hours later, they were caught on surveillance video at the casino.
Mm.
Two
That
hours.
I can't even with that. I just can't. But that is a really when of course whenever you get into a special needs child, I'm gonna freak out. But that was so hard to see that story and the interview with that poor neighbor kid who what must he be feeling now knowing that he saw this, he knew that Carrion was having a lot of trouble at home, um and now knowing that he's deceased, that takes its toll even on innocent bystanders, for sure. It really
The
does.
the teachers, like I PSA, if you're a mandated reporter, you personally are mandated to report suspected child abuse.
Hmm.
Not your boss, not the school you work for, not the county,
Right.
nobody else. It's you. You are a mandated reporter. It's you. You don't
Hmm.
get to pass the buck because you don't want to call CPS. And we know that's what happened because
Right.
they interviewed the teachers. Oh, well, we told our principal.
That's not enough. That is not enough. Not at all. Clearly, that's not enough. It doesn't work. So,
These
mm,
parents had brought that little boy in and they said he was very food motivated. His parents told them, his aunt and uncle, adopted parents, do not give him snacks. And they went by that. It's also on record that she told them he was only allowed one diaper a day. Why? Why would any teacher comply with that? Why
I
would
can't. I
any?
can't imagine.
I can't even. I can't even. So they started asking the younger siblings. The younger siblings teachers were asking questions. And he was like, well, when we get in trouble, they don't let us eat for the rest of the weekend. So I mean, it wasn't just him; it was the younger ones too.
Right, but even for just him, imagine you're his teacher, right? You see how tall he is, you see where he is weight wise, and you obviously can tell that he's extremely underweight, right? He could only have one diaper a day. As a teacher, wouldn't you be like, there's a problem here. I'm going to feed him as much as I can or something. Now, sure, they may have to abide by the parents' wishes, but right there, if you have a very underweight child in your class and the parents are saying, don't give him snacks, that should be enough for you to be on the phone to CPS right there.
But it
In my
wasn't.
book,
They
I don't
didn't call
get it.
CPS. They went to the principal. The
Mm.
principal didn't call CPS. The principal called the parents.
Oh, that's
Smart,
helpful. Very
smart.
helpful. Yeah.
What are they going to do? Oh, I've seen a lot. How how
I could
stupid
see
are you?
it if he had been, if he was dealing with a weight issue as being overweight and they were trying to put him on a diet or something, then work with the teacher, work with the nutritionist at the school, try to come up with a plan. But denying snacks to when a child is obviously underweight, obviously, I mean, obviously there are food issues at home and this child is being starved. Call CPS. Don't call the mom and so she can BS you,
It
you
was
know?
to the
Come on.
point where he was coming to school and eating as fast as he
Right.
possibly could, and he would make himself sick,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would eat that. Like it was that bad. It was that bad, and they didn't call CPS. Like I don't want to put all the gross details out there because you want the kid to have some dignity. But in America, a 15-year-old kid died the day after Thanksgiving of starvation and malnutrition.
That's
Why?
not okay.
Why?
There's no need for it because the parents were abusive monsters. That's the only
So
explanation for it.
eventually, it does get sent to CPS. I think it was seven. There were seven different reports by different people, family members, um, neighbors. I think the younger kids' teachers called it in, not Carrion's teachers, and somebody else. So CPS came 6 days before he died. And the kid, and if you know anything about CPS and abused kids, when they ask you questions as a kid, a lot of times the kids won't talk because they think they're not going to take me and I'm still going to be here with the person who's abusing me when it's all said and done. You know, they won't say anything. Those kids told the CPS worker, apparently it is in the report, according to the Oregonian, is where I got the copy of it or whatever.
Hmm.
It is in the report that the kid said, whenever we sneak and get food, they don't let us eat for the entire weekend. And if he gets sick, they beat him with a cane.
Goodness.
Do you know how big of a deal it is that a child said that at a home visit
Right.
and then you left him?
Hmm. But there's a comment in chat that does bring up a good point. Charlotte Rose says that her adopted former foster children both came to her extremely malnourished and underweight, and they did have to tell the teachers not to feed them because the medical personnel and licensed medical providers were working on their health and allergies and all this stuff. That makes total sense. That
And you have
because you're
an
working
open
as a
office.
team. Right, you got medical people involved. The kids' well-being is being addressed, and the teachers get involved in it. That makes total sense. This does not. These people certainly did not have medical care for Carry On, and that's why they didn't want to feed him. These were just evil, you know.
Plus,
So
you're talking about two younger kids who aren't aren't
Hmm.
special needs that were going through the same thing.
Yep. And Charlotte
But
says that she was treated like she was the abusive one because of following medical providers. Yeah, I can see that. But on one hand, that shows that those children's teachers were like, hey, this isn't right. This is fishy. So at least they looked into it and said, okay, but you got the medical provider saying this is what you have to do, so that's a good thing, because that means they caught it, they recognized there was a problem, they caught it, they figured out, they said, oh, okay, it's not a problem. But I can see where, because one thing that we talk about a lot with CPS is how they miss stuff like this, but they also come down on parents who are not doing that and who are actually doing the right thing. So yeah, on both sides of the coin they fail, on the pro and the con. So
I
I
almost
get that. I'm sorry you went through that, Charlotte.
absolutely. I have two great narcissists in my past who have both made claims to CPS about my kids. So
Mm.
I've been investigated twice by CPS. Obviously, it went nowhere. But it was almost like the case was kept open because it was easy. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, that's what it felt like. Like, that case should have been closed out. Oh, they said that you're on drugs and you've got alcohol and loaded guns in the house and the kids don't go to school. And I laid out all of their homeschool paperwork. Well, what kind of medicine do you have? I took them in our locked closet in our master bedroom. And I said, here it is. Well, what pharmacy do you use? I said, we're military. Everything
Mhm.
gets shipped to us in the mail. I cannot doctor shop for pain medication, and neither of
Right.
us are on pain medication. So that went out the door. Oh, well, what kind of guns do you have? Well, in this house, we have a single handgun that was my husband's grandfather's. It is not loaded. We don't even think it's functional, and there's no ammo in the house.
And plus, your husband's ex-military too, or still in the military.
Yeah,
So but it's also secured. So
yeah.
but yeah. Mm.
I mean, it was crazy. But
Yeah.
I've been on the other side of it. Um, we had to take my niece from a family member, and we had to deal with CPS that way for a year, and that was a nightmare. And they gave her back. They gave her back, and that story would rip your heart out if you
Yeah.
knew all the details about what happened with my niece.
Hmm.
And she's back there, and now she has a little sister going through the same thing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Mm.
and I'm not saying that because I hate CPS. I have family that are CPS. I have a cousin that's actually a social worker who was the person that removes children from the home.
Mm.
I've heard god awful stories from her. It's not all CPS. It's very few people, but it's like any job. There's always going to be bad people in the wrong job,
Right.
but it doesn't mean you get a pass. Like, if you're overworked and underpaid, it still doesn't mean you get a pass. It
Yeah.
means we need to make it a big deal so that things
Right.
change.
Means the system is broken and it needs to be
It needs
fixed.
fixed.
So let's fix it.
Right. I mean,
Mm.
if it was a doctor, you wouldn't put up with it.
Of course
If a
not. Mm.
doctor kept, kids kept dying, oh, well, I was on call, I only had 2 hours of sleep for that surgery. Sorry that it was your kid.
Mm.
You wouldn't take that.
Right.
And these are kids. Carrion was 15, but he was autistic.
Yeah.
He could not speak.
You make a good point there about the doctor, because we have seen malpractice suits where the surgeon was just tired and cut the wrong limb off or something. There are stories about overworked surgeons making mistakes during surgery because they were tired. And you know what that ends with? A malpractice lawsuit that costs the hospital millions and millions of dollars. So why don't we have something like that in this case, where if a CPS worker is put in place to oversee the welfare of a child, and that child ends up dying because they dropped the ball, why don't we have some sort of malpractice suit for that? Some sort of accountability for that worker who dropped the ball. There's nothing. There's
But they
nothing like
have
that.
this. They have the same. Was it use immunity? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Something like
Or
that.
use,
Yeah.
whatever. They have the same protection that police officers do. And right now, all you got to do is watch the news to see that's not holding water anymore.
Right.
People are holding people accountable. They want to get rid of it. And if you're going to hold your police officers accountable for mistakes, we need to be holding social workers responsible. Whether that's I mean, you can have a really good social worker and have a really bad supervisor that will screw up a case. I'm not just saying it's the social workers. Sometimes
Right.
it can go all the way up,
Right.
all the
And it
way
could
up.
even be the policies that they have. Maybe the policies that are actually in place are the reason that these children are falling through the cracks. So do we need to take a hard look at CPS as a whole? I absolutely. I think we really need to do.
Well, it's not CPS's fault, even in Carrion's case. I don't blame CPS that Carrion died.
Right.
That decision was made by his adoptive parents,
Mhm.
allegedly. They haven't been to court and all that fun stuff. That responsibility is on the parents. But CPS, law enforcement, all that kind of stuff is a safety net. And if you are constantly seeing that the safety net has a humongous hole in it, and tons of people are falling through the cracks, you need to fix it. Figure out what's causing the hole. You know,
Right.
these are kids, and if nothing else, this year has proved there is something wrong
Mhm.
with social services.
Like Kat Sauer says in chat, if we hold the social workers accountable, we need to hold the judges accountable too. Family court in my state works like a fast food restaurant. Get them in and get them out. You're right. And I think that was Jess, that was your just point, is it's not just the CPS workers. It's not just these mandated reporters. It's the entire system from the ground up that has way too many holes in it. Way too many. And unfortunately, whenever you go the opposite direction, let's fix these holes and let's, fix the safety net, then you're going to get more of the other problems with CPS where they take kids from families that are not doing anything wrong and they get a little overly cautious. But we got to find a balance. We really do, because there are way too many of these cases and they're happening
And
every single day.
and I'm telling you, it's not a change that's going to happen from the top down. I think we've seen that this year with all the police,
Right.
lawsuits and stuff. It doesn't matter who's, and this is not a political statement. It doesn't matter who is in the White House. They can't, swear in and then everything changes. It's got to trickle down. But the
Right.
people that it affects are the people at the bottom. And you've got to make noise in your town, in your school, in your town, in your county, in your state, whatever. It's not gonna.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, it's not gonna be fixed by Congress and that kind of stuff on a
Right.
federal level until people at the bottom make them and
Yep.
are sick of it and won't take it anymore because these are our kids.
Yep, and like Kat says, there has to be an answer that works. And
Yep.
we have to keep striving for that answer. And we have to keep adjusting as we go. Instead of, okay, here's our new policy, boom, go. It's like, no, we got to keep questioning it and keep testing it and keep changing it and fine tuning it, because we're losing children. Like, how many, you were looking up the stats on how many missing children were in a state at 1 month.
Oh yeah,
And
it
you
was
can believe how many there were.
just in California. California
Hmm.
was ridiculous. If nothing else, this pandemic really was a highlight to the problem. Um, when lockdown started happening, kids weren't going to school for those mandated reporters. Churches were shut down. That's another mandated reporter. Doctors were canceling visits left, right, and center unless you needed to be there, like an emergency type thing. So there's that mandated reporter that's out the window. Uh, Dentist, nobody was going there. And then a lot of places were telling social workers not to do in home visits
Yep.
for foster kids. I mean, for crying out loud, that's not even kids that are at risk, they are in risk. They've
Right.
already been moved. Those are the
Hmm.
kids you need to have been in the house. Shoot, I think you should have probably went twice.
Yep.
So you lock people down, okay? Parents, and this is not a judgment at all. Parents of special needs children who have gotten all of their services and things like that through therapists and the school system or whatever were completely cut off, and they really, some I'd say, had absolutely no idea what to do. So now they're at home with a special need child with no help. No help. I mean, where do you go? And then you're losing jobs. Suicides went through the roof. Alcoholism went back through the roof. Drug overdoses went through the roof. Domestic violence went through the roof. Child abuse went through the roof.
Yep.
there were so many people that could take a child and say, "Oh, we're going to move," okay? And since they weren't keeping up with where the kid went, you could literally cross state lines and say, "Oh, I'm going to register them over here." There's nothing in place that makes sure that child gets registered with another school.
Right.
So I would say there are a ton of kids who went missing this year that we don't even know are missing
Yep.
because they never got reported.
Hmm. Yep. So there's so many of these cases happening.
Yeah.
Jess, you watch them and you watch them all, and it's awful. But there's another case that you talked about earlier this week that I wanted to hit on because it's shocking in a whole different way. Maybe even a little lighthearted as you can get for this. But you told me that somebody went outside one morning and they found a what was it? A part of a body or part of a corpse in their driveway? A
Oh,
decomposing corpse in their driveway? Like what?
Goldsboro, North Carolina. I can't make fun of it because I lived there for 6 years. My husband and I were stationed at Seymour Johnson in Goldsboro, North Carolina, home of Andy Griffith. I mean, you can't get any more Mayberry than Goldsboro, North Carolina. He literally was a school teacher at the high school.
Hmm.
A dude went outside of his house last week and found a decapitated and dismembered body in his driveway, and he had absolutely zero clue who it was. Just went outside to get the newspaper, and bam, there it
There's a
was.
surprise. That's a surprise. The only funny part about it's not funny, but what
It's
was
like
funny was what you said to me.
so
You said,
random.
"Oh, this is a Paul story because he's in North Carolina," and you said, "I got to send this decomposed body to Paul," and I was like, "Wait, back up. Let's explain
Yeah,
that."
right. Sorry, Paul.
Not quite what you meant.
But it was just so random, you know? Like, who? You don't expect that. I mean, the you can you so flustered for it. I cannot even keep up with only the child cases that are coming out every day. Only the child cases. That's not even counting domestic violence, you know, adult people that don't know how to behave and are killing people left, right, and center. All of these random shootings everywhere. I cannot even keep up with just the kid cases anymore.
Yep. And then you
It's
get this thrown in the mix, and you're just like, "Wait, what?"
yeah,
I go outside and I find, a bird that a cat got and left on the doorstep, and I'm heartbroken. I cannot imagine finding a decapitated body in my driveway. I can't. That's insane. Did they ever find out who it was or what happened?
yeah, yeah. It was a neighbor that got in a fight with one of their friends and thought, "Hey, let's throw this over there. Maybe they'll notice."
Goodness. Maybe they won't notice. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they won't know. They'll never know it was me. Honey, you cannot get away with murder in America. Everybody and their mother has a ring doorbell camera or something. You're
Right.
not going to get away with it anymore. I just quit. Cut it out.
Yep.
Just cut it out. Another thing that highlights that is there has been a body found on a hiking trail right outside of Las Vegas
Hmm.
a week and a half ago. It's a little boy. They think he's about 10 years
That's
old.
right.
They still have not identified who that is.
Mm.
And I'm going to put my prediction on it. They're not going to find out who it is because, and this is also not a political statement, I will bet you money he was brought over the border by traffickers. They got their money and dumped him as soon as they got the money. And he's not documented and nobody knows he's missing. And his family across the border has no idea where he's at right now.
Oh my goodness.
That's not a political statement. I'm saying right now people are trafficking people left, right, and center.
Hmm.
I live in well, right now I live in Knoxville, but I'm from a small county in East Tennessee. And the little smut papers everybody puts out in these little bitty towns, like once or twice every 2 weeks or whatever.
Right. Right.
They busted a sex trafficking ring in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, of six
Hmm.
people. And I'm like, well, I could not believe it. And it was all people my age. So I was like, did I go to school with any of these boneheads? But
Oh
I
man.
didn't know any of them. a sex trafficking ring in little bitty Monroe County, Tennessee. Like, really?
Hmm.
I just thought it was so bizarre.
It
It's
is
so
bizarre.
bizarre.
Hmm.
Oh, Rosie wants to talk about the manatee story. We were talking about Florida man and Florida woman stories the other day. This is what we're going to talk about on our new channel. I guarantee, because it will come
Definitely.
to that. My favorite Florida woman story is the woman who got drunk and went to Walmart and is riding around the electric cart drinking wine out of a Pringles can.
Hmm.
If y'all haven't seen that, that's really a thing. But you know, we're like Paul. I think Paul said it. Whenever we talked about it way back when, we're all just one bad day away from that. You
Yep.
know, drink the wine out of a Pringles
That could
can.
be me
Keep
tomorrow.
driving.
Just
Oh my
stay
God!
tuned.
Stay
I'll try to
tuned.
live stream it if I do it.
Me and you could
Oh
do that. We
goodness.
could race electric carts with
Yep.
Pringles.
There is a Florida man game that we were playing last summer with Paul. If you go to Google and you type in Florida man
Oh
and your
man,
birth date,
yeah.
you'll get a story. So you can do that and see what your Florida man story is for your birthday. There is always a Florida man story. So
Paul used to do Florida man videos all the time.
yep.
So I was telling Rosie, anybody that knows Rosie knows that if there is an animal, I don't care if it's an ant, she will rescue it because she feels sorry for it out of whatever picture you have. If there's a sloth trying to cross the road, she is, oh my gosh, it's going to get hit. And I'm like, if you can't swerve around a sloth, you got driving problems. But every animal is Rosie's favorite. She probably has a petting zoo where she lives. I'm just believing that. So I said, Rosie, I've got a Florida man story for you. Is it bad? I said, absolutely. It involves a manatee. And I said, they picked up Florida man was arrested. Just picture this. Florida man was arrested because he was on the back riding bull style a manatee completely naked. And the police actually had to go get him out of the water to arrest him.
Oh my goodness.
And poor Rosie was like, that poor manatee. And you know,
Oh,
if you have kids that are my age, you've got teenagers now, y'all know about Veggie Tales. So the only thing that was going through my head was that song, Barbara Manatee.
right.
All
Oh,
day, Barbara Manatee.
yeah. Florida never disappoints ever.
No.
Yep. And Algo says Florida, Texas, and maybe Alaska. Texas has a lot of crazy stories, but they're scarier because they always usually involve guns and crazy
Yeah.
people. So they're not quite as funny. But the Florida stories, they're pretty funny. They really
Yeah.
are. Mm. So yeah, we'll
I
talk about
remember
the new
on
one.
Paul's channel, we talked about, and this was in really quick succession, three different people were arrested for stealing fried chicken from a restaurant, three different
Right.
restaurants. And I said, well, we need to do an experiment. We were going to find out which of these chicken places is the best by who had to pay the most bail money to get out for.
Yep. There was like a rash of fried chicken true crime out of Florida for like over a month or two last summer. It
The
was
Florida
weird.
man
People,
killed his mama. You remember? Killed his
yeah,
mama over a daggone Popeye's chicken sandwich.
yeah, and people claiming assault because somebody threw fried chicken at them, and it was crazy. Like, what was going on with the fried chicken in Florida? I don't know, but don't order it there. Get something, but don't get cheeseburgers either.
Oh gosh.
The
I
cheeseburger
just
story.
feel Paul laughing about she got woke up by being slapped in the face with a cheeseburger. I said 10 points if she was a vegan. That really was.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
miss
So
Paul.
there is a funny side to true crime, and so hopefully
Oh yeah.
when we start our sweet tea and side eyes, we can talk about that because that sounds perfect for that kind of channel.
Oh, I was watching whenever I made that Judge Judy mashup with Letitia Stout. I watched a lot of Judge Judy to get those clips, and there was one story in there. It was like the fastest Judge Judy case in history, and a woman was suing this guy for stealing her purse. and she had this outrageous amount of money that she wanted because of what she said was in the purse. And so Judge Judy is reading it off. Okay, you want $5,000 because your iPad, your cell phone, your wallet, and this much money in there. And that idiot spoke up when he was not being spoken to and said, she didn't have no cell phone in there.
Oh no.
And she was like, judgment for the plaintiff. And just went like that. She didn't have no cell phone in there.
We need more Judge Judy. We really do.
Yes, we do.
Of course, I grew up watching Judge Wapner on the original People's Court way back in the 70s, and that was a great show back then. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
There's a lot of good TV judges. I like Judge Judy, though. I was working on a story because I was trying to, like, okay, I don't want to talk about a kid case. Let's do another thing. And I got in my brain, um, deals with the devil. What are the absolute, I don't even know if you want to say best or worst plea deals you've ever seen? Um, and so we had talked about Crystal Kenny. A lot of people know about Crystal Kenny. I mean, that
Right.
woman got away with nothing. But then I found one that beat her.
Oh,
Now, yeah. Do you know the case, Denise and Denise and David? Mike. Out of Florida, a woman said that her husband went missing and they thought he was eaten by a crocodile. And then she married his best friend not long after that.
uh-huh.
And then it came out he kidnapped her. They broke up. Imagine that. They broke up and he kidnapped her. In a plea deal, the police always thought those two did it because of the way he was never found. It was obvious that he had not had a boating accident and an alligator ate him.
Right.
But they never could prove it. They offered him a deal, and he took it because he's smart. If he would plead guilty to kidnapping her and tell everything he knew about her, they would not even charge him in the other case.
Hmm.
Zero. He planned it. He murdered him. He disposed of the body. All of that. All of that.
Huh.
She just went along with it. And she even stopped him from doing it twice, put it off. And she said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And it happened anyway. So the kidnapping case and the murder case went to two separate judges. So neither judge knew about the other case.
Hmm.
So when the man went to court to plead guilty on the kidnapping thing, he got the minimum. I think he got 10 years, if that. I think it was 10 years. And never knew anything about the plea deal for the other case. And so he testified against the woman. I know her name was Denise. I can't think of her last name. But
Denise Williams, Chattasay.
yeah, Williams. That's it. She got life in prison, and he got nothing. No charges. Nothing.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane. That is a failure of the justice system for sure.
That's a miscarriage of justice. I'm not saying she should have got away with it.
Right.
But knowing that this man planned it, murdered him, covered it up, hid his body, lied about it, and then kidnapped her at the end, and she's killed for life. That's crazy. That is absolute craziness.
Yeah. And now, with the Crystal Kenny case, the problem that I have with that is she knew that there was this plan for so long. She even went over there 4 times with the idea in her mind that she might try to kill her based on what Patrick Frazee told her to do. And she stopped herself. So there's that, I suppose, feather in her cap. But she could have just told her, Kelsey Barrett, that said, hey, you might want to get out of here. This guy's after you. She could have told the authorities, my boyfriend is threatening to kill his ex-fiance or whatever their relationship was at the time. But she didn't. She let it happen. How can you, I don't know, how can you go on knowing that you let somebody get murdered and then covered it up and cleaned up the crime scene? And the fact that she is not in jail for 25, 50 years over that is, to me, another miscarriage of justice. However, I do understand what the state said. They said, we made a deal with the devil because they couldn't have gotten Patrick without her testimony. I get that, but woo,
So
that
let's
just
talk
makes me
about that
nuts.
deal with the devil.
Hmm.
The DA that offered her that is also the DA that was initially in charge of Letitia Stout's case, but they were switching. It was an election year or whatever. So that's not who's covering it now. But he was involved in the beginning of Letitia Stout's case when she was arrested.
Mm.
Now, the lawyer that got Crystal Kennedy that sweetheart of a deal for without having to say a word, I mean nothing. She got that thing signed, and Kelsey never, or not Kelsey, Crystal Kennedy hadn't even been to the state yet. Got her that deal. Is who is representing, what's his face, Barry
Barry
Morphy.
Morphew. Yep. That's
That
a little
worries me.
scary.
That
That
worries
scares
me.
me. Yep. Me too.
Yep. And
Mm.
speaking of Barry Morphew, they've decided to keep his little arrest affidavit sealed, and they say it's because of the daughters.
Huh.
I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is out there? I kind of figured it meant somebody else was involved, and they weren't ready to spring that one on them yet. But I don't
Right.
know. They now say it's because of the dog. That's what the DA is saying. The prosecutor always
Hmm.
saying that they're going to keep that private because of the daughters.
Yeah. But they
But I
didn't they
am
say only for
worried.
7 more days or something?
It looks like they're going to keep it permanently from what
Oh
I
no.
read, but I could have read that wrong.
Hmm.
Um, but boy, I'm telling you, Barry got a good lawyer. That's not good.
Yep.
Not good.
So, Woman of Steel asks, when is Letitia Stout going to trial? Do we know yet? Well, we're still waiting for her preliminary
Her
hearing, right?
her proof evident presumption great hearing is scheduled for September 10th and 11th.
Hmm. My goodness.
And that's if nothing else kicks off with her peanut butter before
Yep.
now and then. I don't expect it to happen then. It
Well, if
might,
she
but she's
doesn't
got a
try
new
to fire
lawyer.
her new lawyer,
That poor guy.
I felt bad for him. I did.
I
Yep.
did. Yeah. So that's not going anywhere fast.
Hmm. But
We've got Anthony Todd is supposed to go to trial that same week.
that's going to be a good case. I hope that trial is public because I want to talk about that. That was from Celebration, Florida, which is that town modeled by
Disney
Disney,
town.
right?
Yeah.
Beautiful Disney town, very expensive, very exclusive. And he killed his family and the dog and
Yeah.
stayed in the house with them for how long? How long were
A
they
week.
dead before they discovered? A
At
week.
least a week. Yeah.
Yep.
At least a week.
Yep. And turned
Um,
out he did it because they were broke, financial reasons, and he didn't want to tell the family or something or whatever. But my goodness. And didn't he try to say he was innocent at some point?
he confessed at first. He
Right.
confessed. And they released some phone calls. I need to make a video about that because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Disney fan. They released phone calls from him in jail with his sister, and he's refusing to answer any questions like, "Are you okay? What happened? Just tell mom I'm fine." But all he's doing in the phone call is telling his sister where the valuables are in his office, in his house, and in his storage unit, and where to find keys and passwords and this, that, and the other. I mean, we're talking about monetary things. Jewelry is absolutely sickening. And now he's recanted and said, nope, not guilty.
Yeah. That was from
He's been back.
Celebration, Florida, Carolyn asked in chat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a crazy case. I would like to see that go to trial because yeah, that guy has some issues. The other case that we haven't heard anything about, and I have looked, is the Michael Wayne Jones Jr. case. This one triggered me. It really did because of
Yeah.
the
Me.
people involved in that story. But I haven't heard anything about what's going on with his case. So hopefully we'll get some news on that because I would like to actually cover that case if it's going to
Yeah.
go to trial. So Mary Moore asks, do you think they'll ever find Suzanne's body? What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I do. I don't cover it. I've followed it. If you guys want to know anything about that case, Profile and Evil, and then now since they've got two different channels, the interview room, Chris Madonna, he covers that case like amazing. He talks about all kinds of really, really good stuff over there. And he's got investigators on that case.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they will find her. I think they will. I think they know kind of where she's at, or at least where she was.
Yeah.
There's some rumors about um, trees,
Right.
seats for trees that were bought, and a piece of
Hmm.
land that was bought and then sold really, really fast. So
Hmm.
we're hoping.
Yeah, we still
Um,
have a lot. There are still quite a few cases where we have not recovered the remains. Even just cases that we've talked about. The Jennifer Dulos case out of Connecticut. They have just passed Jennifer's Law, which is fantastic,
that's
but they
good.
have not found her remains yet. Suzanne Morphew, James Hutchinson. That case bothers both of us
Oh,
in a big way. They still haven't found him. I mean, there's a lot of these cases, and with today's forensics and cell phone tracking and all this stuff, how can you hide a body and nobody find it? I don't even understand how it's possible.
and
But
also with James, there's another little boy. They were both thrown in at the same spot in the Dang River at the same weekend, I believe, maybe a little
mm-hmm.
more than that apart, and that's Nyla Lattimore. So they've been doing a lot of dives. They did one, I think, last weekend, hoping to find them, and they still haven't. It's so sad. I talked to one of his family members, James's family members, reached out to me after I did a video, and I talked to them. I talked to him a handful of times, whenever there's an update or whatever. Oh, pray for that family. They are going through it.
Yeah,
It's messed up. Because James was an only child to his father. James was his only kid, so that's got to be a nightmare. And then
yeah,
no closure. You don't have a body.
mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
never found Kelsey.
that
Talking
is true.
about they never found Kelsey, and he's locked up for life.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There is
that's
that
crazy.
mistaken opinion: if they don't have a body, there's no crime. That's not true.
Mm.
That is not true. So we'll see Barry Morphew. He's going to have to go to trial. They don't have her body. Patrick Frazee is in jail. They never found Kelsey Barrett. So yeah, just because there's no body doesn't mean they won't get convicted. So let's
There's
hope. But
there's like oh before I forget, um, Amari Nicholson, Terrell Rhodes was back in court this week.
oh, what
He
happened?
pled he pled not guilty, even though he's confessed. They upped his charges to attempted murder on the police officers that he pulled the gun from in the interrogation room.
Oh man.
And I guess he made the cutoff. They're deciding whether or not to do a death penalty case for him. So
I had my camera off.
and then there was another case. Oh, right now, if you guys are like me and like to watch live court cases, there's one in Tennessee right now. Something Daniels, what's his name? Joe. It's
Hmm.
like Big Joe. There's Grandpa Joe, Dad Joe, and Baby Joe. Baby Joe was 5. I think it was in Dixon, Tennessee, but it's in court. I think today is day 2 or day 3. Um,
Mm.
they were even doing court on Saturday. He was autistic and nonverbal, and the dad admitted to killing. Like they did the whole "oh he's missing" BS for a little while,
Right.
and they did this humongous search. It was the biggest search Middle Tennessee has ever done in a missing persons case. It was that
Hmm.
big, and yeah, they couldn't find him. So then he confessed and told them where the body was, and he
Okay.
wasn't there.
Oh,
So
he
then he
wasn't.
changed the story. No, changed the story. He was like in this wooded area. He wasn't there. Then he came back and said, "Oh no, I put him in the pond. I drained the pond and all that. He's not there." And now he's trying to say, "Oh no, my wife did it." So they have both been arrested because she helped cover it up too.
Right.
This little boy was killed in a house with 8 people.
Hmm.
That's crazy. Grandpa, grandma, mom, dad, and 3 kids all in one house. An aunt, grandpa, grandma, and grandma's sister are all in one house
Hmm.
when the child was killed. But it was another he peed in the floor and I beat him to death kind of story. But the reason I say that is there's not a body. This case is kind of wild. The prosecutor saying we have zero physical evidence.
Hmm.
So I don't know what they're going to do.
Oh, isn't he saying his confession was coerced?
Yeah.
Did I hear that part right? Yeah.
Hmm. And now she is too. But they did split the cases. So the wife is, or the mom is not going to court yet. his trial will finish before her starts.
Hmm.
So,
Goodness.
woo,
Yeah.
that's not some crazy. That's crazy.
And you have been going back and watching an old trial, haven't you, this week?
I'm
Just for fun?
freaking bad. Yeah, this is how I'm sadistic. I'm voluntarily going back and watching the Casey Anthony trial for some crazy reason because I didn't watch it back then. I
Yeah.
was me and my husband got married. I think 2 days after Kaylee went missing. Um, yeah, I didn't follow that. I had three littles at home. Dan was in the Air Force and deployed. I did not follow true crime. I gave it up. Scott Peterson was my first true crime story
Yeah.
because I was pregnant the same time Lacey was, and we had a lot of things in common. And that's how
Yeah.
I found Nancy Grace.
Yeah. The Casey Anthony case, I followed it very, very closely because it was kind of shocking. I didn't understand where the defense was coming from. Now, Jose Baez was obviously a very, very good defense attorney, but all of the reasonable doubt points he raised, I'm like, no. And plus, it was like, I don't even care. So you're gonna now pin it on the dad, but she still
That's all I
knew,
get.
So no. I
I was,
cannot understand that jury. I will never understand that jury's
yeah.
reaction to that case ever.
Yep. So I went back to watch it. I'm like, well, maybe I'm ridiculous because I went back and watched Jodi Arias about a week or a year and a half ago, the second one. I'm not watching the first one, and that was the worst trial. But Casey Anthony, oh my word, how in the world would you think when there's been a dead body in her car? Kaylee was found not far from her house. None
Mhm.
of her stories were true. They're all made up people.
Yeah.
And I can't for the life of me understand that one. I
Yeah.
can't.
I understand reasonable doubt, and sometimes there is good reasonable doubt in a case, but that was not
That
that didn't hit
wasn't
the
it.
bar for me. I didn't understand it.
Mm-mm.
So, hmm,
Her and OJ need to go run off into the sunset together,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Now, Jess, you're being asked in chat, what eyeshadow are you wearing? Who is it by? What color is it? Where can we get
It
it?
is. Is it sitting here? No, it's not sitting here because I actually put it up today. It is ColourPop. It's a palette called In Bloom or Pretty Blooms. It's all corals
Hmm.
with pressed glitter. That's all it is.
Well, it is
I think
gorgeous.
it was like $16. ColourPop is really good. If you're wanting to get into makeup or you don't want to pay Sephora kind of prices, ColourPop has some absolutely amazing eyeshadow palettes. They blow MAC out of the water because I was asked that this week. Are MAC eyeshadow palettes worth it? In my opinion, they're not. I
Yeah.
have a few, but they're not worth the money.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, that is gorgeous. I like
thank
that.
you.
So I might go get some ColourPop palette. I don't have any. Oh, wait, no, you sent me two
I
ColourPop
sent you
palettes, I
some.
think. Yeah.
I got
So
some.
I need to play with them.
Oh, and if just so it's said, since we always talk about food, Bailey might have tried to sell you fried chicken earlier, but if you have not discovered smart food popcorn that is glazed with Krispy Kreme donut glaze, go get you some. I've already eaten a bag and a half of it, and I mailed Awen some because she couldn't find it. That stuff, oh my lord! Like a good hot off the thing Krispy Kreme donut will like melt in your mouth. That's
Hmm.
what this popcorn does. It's not like a
Oh,
thick glaze. It's not like it's just right.
I think my package is supposed to be here Monday. I have
That's what
sent
I'm
my poor
saying.
husband to every store that within like 10 miles. Like, go find me this popcorn. You can't come home until you find it. Go, and it's just not in Texas.
So
It is not
good.
here. So I almost ordered a bag off Amazon for $15. I wanted it that bad, but thankfully Jess saved me from that fatal mistake, and she sent me a bag. I
Well,
can't wait till it gets here.
I was
Oh,
gonna buy a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts because it was like, man, now I want some donuts. And they were $10, and I was like, I can buy 3 bags of popcorn for that.
yeah,
And it's technically less carbs. So
a little
go
bit.
get
Yeah,
you some. It's
yeah.
smart food. It's a green bag, about yay big.
And it's a limited time, I think, too. So get it fast,
Probably go
because
buy them out. I've already bought 4 bags.
Sell them on Amazon for $15 each.
Yeah, that should be my retirement plan.
Yep.
Let's go do some of that.
Do some food
My
flipping. There you
goodness.
go.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Goodness. See, I
All
can't wait
right,
till that
guys.
gets here.
I think we've about talked your heads off.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention before we go, our last narcissism live stream. Every Thursday night, Jess and I do a live stream about narcissism, recovering from narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, all that good stuff. And the last one we talked about self-care, a lot of self-care. We did about 10 to 15 psychological self-care things you can do and 10 to 15 practical things. It's such a powerful thing, and I've watched it myself several times, because certainly self-care is something I haven't been doing my best practices of lately. And I need to get back on it. But I think that's one of our best videos in that series. I'm really proud of that one. So go check that out. That's on my YouTube channel, on my Patreon, and for channel members. So if you're over there, give that one a watch, because certainly I've needed to employ those tactics this week. Mm-hmm.
It was good. I'm going to get my Patreon because so many people have asked me about Patreon. I don't know why y'all want to give me money, but I need some more Krispy Kreme donut popcorn, so I'll let you
She
know.
does.
I think I'll have my Patreon up by the end of the weekend. I'll link it in Discord if I do, or put it in the description or whatever. It's going to be funny. I mean, it's going to have to be. I think I'm going to record Awen and I when we watch these stupid videos, just our immediate reaction to some stupid, that kind of thing. I might talk about makeup, who knows, but I'm going to do, whenever we get 20 people on Patreon, I'm going to do a Patreon only giveaway.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah, that will
Yeah.
be fun.
All right, so I'll be live on June 9th with Chad's hearing, and that should be an interesting time. But I swear, if that guy gets in court and starts smiling and laughing, he needs to quit that crap, because that's
Just
obscene.
imagine, I just like to imagine it's because John Pryor is rubbing the top part of his leg.
Great. Now I need a lobotomy to get that out of my brain. Thanks, Jess. Ugh, gross.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Not a good note to end the live stream on.
nope.
Oh,
Never
good
know.
grief. Not good. All right, but join us in Discord. Remember, Jess is in Discord with us. Rosie's been linking to it. You can chat with us. We have voice chat, text chat, pictures, files, whatever. You can do everything in Discord. So we're hanging out over there. And I guess that's it. Thank you to Jess for helping me so much this week. I know I'm always singing your praises, but man, you are my salt, my rock, my everything. And thank you, because I love you so much.
I love you. And I'm salty, so it works.
Salty. There you go. Salty.
All right,
Oh,
guys.
goodness.
Get out of here. Thanks for coming.
Good
I'm
night.
over 600 subs now. I'm super excited.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
On the way to 1,000.
Yep. We're out of here. Bye, guys. Till next time.
Bye.